Alrighty, so I'm Jacob Shortfigure. That's Ryan Griffin. It's Ellie, Jess, and this is our app, How to Adult.
So our app is basically a database app that allows people to become more functioning members of society. We realized as graduating seniors that there was a lot of big gaps in our knowledge of things we didn't know how to do. So we wanted to create a convenient and easily accessible place where we could learn things from how to do taxes to how to cook in a dorm.
So what our app does, as she said earlier, it's an adult database. You can get advice from real-life adults. As opposed to not real-life adults. We plan on implementing a forum that can be used for live Q&A sessions with major players in key industries, and it'll be a big hit. So the login screen. Here's our login screen. It's fairly simple. It has 3 active fields. It has the username, password, and login button. The password will show up as dots, and clicking the login after putting in certain usernames or passwords will redirect it to the home screen.
So this is our home screen. From the home screen, you can access your profile, the home screen which you're on currently, the saved posts, and like we were talking about, creating a forum function, the create post will allow you to do such. Also, you can change between the most popular posts of the day and the ones that you're following. And we also have a joke of the day, which comes with a new joke every day because being an adult is very serious business and we'd like to bring a little smile into people's days.
So, big categories. After you click on the burger tab up there, it'll bring all the categories, the broader categories for stuff you can learn how to do. After clicking on a big category, it'll bring you to one of the more specific categories where you can search a bit more specifically from there. And after you click on the burger tab again, it'll bring you back to the home screen.
So this is where the big meat and potatoes of the app is. So after you click on a specific category from the tab, it'll bring you to different articles that you can click on. After clicking on the title, it'll give you a short description, such as this article is written by the winner of Top Chef Season 11. And then after clicking view the article, you can view the article, and then clicking on the burger tab would bring you back to the category list to explore more options, and clicking the home button would bring you back to the different articles so you can read more. And for our next steps, as Ryan mentioned, we would be implementing a forum function so that people can communicate with each other, maybe say what they like, what they didn't like, give more suggestions. We would also have suggested articles on the home screen to maybe give you a taste of something you didn't think that you would like. We would have revolving popular articles that would be rated using a rating and commenting system, and that would also be on the home screen so you can see what everyone's looking at. And we would also start advertising within the high schools between Normal Community and Normal West, and then possibly branch out into the colleges where all of the adults are that don't quite know how to adult yet. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
What do you guys, when you start to really move forward with this, how are you going to code this or develop? What language are you going to use?
We would probably use Java. We've already started coding some in Java.
Okay.
Just more of the simpler things, such as like the categories and things that you can click on within them. I think right now that's what we're kind of comfortable with. We might explore using Python as well, since we're all familiar with that.
Okay, good. You guys have anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here with us today. Today we're here to discuss the app Decelerate that I, Vidya Kothkoda,
Me, Joshmita Chintala.
I, Shannon Ethan.
Me, Jacob Myers. I, Emerson Custer.
have created. Our app was designed to help drivers keep their speed in check and to help with other roadside assistance.
Okay, so these are the problems that we wanted to address or kind of manage with our app. So we wanted to, so we're aware that new drivers are inexperienced and can come across difficult road situations, and so we just wanted to create an app that would help with that. Any driver can be distracted or have a short attention span, or can just come across driving situations that they're not familiar with. And this app is used to help the drivers drive safely and more responsibly. So these are some statistics just showing like the importance of our app. In 2017, speeding killed 9,717 people. accounting for more than a quarter of all traffic fatalities that year. That's from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And then, so speeding tickets can range from $120 to $160. So obviously this can be something that really affects your budgeting or financing. So we just wanted to create an app that would just avoid those situations.
So the ideal, yes.
Okay, so this is how our app connects to the slogan of "Here to help life go right." So obviously this just keeps the drivers safer and more aware on the road. And we want to help avoid drivers stay out of dangerous situations that can cause any accidents or cause damage or cost even money. And this app is also intended to help ease the driving stress for any driver.
So now, the ideal functionality for our app, it would display both the current speed limit in the area that the driver was in, as well as the speed that the driver is going. And it would just keep both of those in one place so that drivers would be able to see that, preferably mounted in a car, hands-free. So instead of having to pay attention to both the area that they're in, especially if they are driving somewhere new, and their speed itself, it would also then give verbal warnings if the driver exceeded a certain amount over the speed limit or a certain amount under the speed limit that could be set by the driver. It would also provide notifications to the driver of certain reasons that they may need to alter their speed in that area, specifically current weather conditions, or if construction is nearby, or if they are entering a school zone in a time that is in effect. All of these preferences of notifications and speed limit settings would be adaptable for each user.
So the logo and name, as you guys know, is Decelerate. This suggests the goal of our app to help drivers slow down and not speed. And then the slogan we created was "Here to help drive go right," and this helps us correlate with the State Farm logo really well.
This is our prototype that we created on proto.io. On our home screen, you can see our app's name, Decelerate, our logo, our slogan, and the current date and time. And using the several icons on the top, you can access these several screens throughout the app. On our map and navigation screen, you have the speed limit on top, which is the speed limit of the area you're currently driving in, the speed at which you are going at, the map of the place you're in, and the name of the place you're in. On our speed limit screen, it's a more consolidated view so that you can just focus on the speed and not be distracted by the map and other distractions that might come through, such as notifications. On our notification screen, like Shannon said before, we have notifications about the weather, if you're approaching any school zones, if you're approaching any construction zones, so that you can just stay more focused and be a more safe driver on the road. On our settings screen, it will allow you to set the speed limit how much ever above you're allowing yourself to go over the speed limit and below the speed limit, and you can also change what screen you would want to pop up when you open the app, so that that's like your go-to screen. And from any screen in the app, you can go to any other screen because we have icons on each and every screen.
So some of the problems that we encountered was gaining access to a map. This took us actually a while to come up, even though it's like the base of our app. But eventually we figured out a way to implement a Google Maps type functionality through Android Studio. And with that, unfortunately, we were still not able to access all the speed limits throughout different roads. So we would need to implement that at a later time. And overall, at the beginning, our group collaboration wasn't the best, but we started using different things like Trello, and we started communicating better in order to have a better design. And our actual app design, we wanted it to be similar to what our prototype was. And at the beginning, it wasn't quite there, but we eventually started to get there. And actually probably our biggest problem was testing on our device. When we were creating the app, we had to work with different settings on the device to actually give access to our app and get our actual location or other things like that.
And to recap with our app was designed to help drivers on the roads be safer and help keep their speed in check. And thank you. Have a great day.
In Bloomington Normal, we have noticed that there are many individuals who wish to partake in volunteer work. On the other hand, there are also many organizations who are in dire need of volunteers. That is why we, in order to connect these two symbiotic relationships, have created Jared Volunteering. First, we have me, Jathan Nama.
Me, Amit Hirama.
Randy William.
Ishwar Ramesh. And David Shield.
And Jared Volunteering is a platform that allows organizations to post their volunteer needs, and as well as individuals in our community to take advantage of these volunteer opportunities. In order to make user accessibility as abundant and efficient as possible, we have created a website as well as an app version of our product. And before we go into the development stage, we first need to make a Trello board. Trello allowed us to effectively map out our goals and needs and communicate them with the rest of our group in order to make our development stage as efficient as possible to make sure that everyone knew what to do every step of the process.
Okay, so first, in starting this project, we needed to kind of outline all the items that we needed to do. So first, we decided to use Proto.io for the app development. And here we kind of outline our app and design it and structure it so that when we actually began coding, we could kind of have a basis to start from. On top of that, we used the Trello management, as Jathan stated. And we also decided to use GitHub to share our code so we could all edit and add our ideas to the project. For the website itself, we decided to use NetBeans 8.2, and it also has a bunch of features that specifically made it easier to develop the website. And ultimately, through all the programs, we use Java.
So we wanted a vision of our app, and we used the program our teacher recommended, Proto.io. And here would be our home screen of the app, and you'd select if you're a user or a company, and it'd take you to the sign-up page where you'd enter all your information and then create your account. And after making an account, you'd arrive at this page, which...
So this would be the home example of the home screen. Display. Yep. So it would have like a scrollable container to see the opportunities that are available that are in dire need of help. And this would be the search engine. It would also have the same features list. See them quickly. Clicking on one of them, you'll get to the sign up page where you can sign up. And after signing up, I'll tell you information about it. And then clicking on the commitments, you'll see what you need or what you have signed up for in the end.
So now moving to our website itself. In order to create our website, we use JSPs and NetBeans, which are Java server pages. With the JSPs, we could split it up into the front end and the back end. So the coding languages that we used were JavaScript, CSS, but more specifically Bootstrap, which is an open source framework of CSS, SQL, and Java. So this is a run-through of what it looks like when we're using our website. So this would be the home page before you sign in. We have this big banner and then all the volunteering opportunities available. So when coding the login and sign up, we used JavaScript to validate the forms to see if the user input all the necessary information. And then we, in order to send it to our MySQL Workbench database, we used Java. So in the database, we had like the user information, the information for all the events, how many registrants had already signed up, which can be seen once you, so when we're going through making the event, this is everything that's sent here would go to the database, and that's just a confirmation page.
And so when you go to the event, you can see the description, the organization, and then you can also delete your event. So deleting the event was pretty simple. It's another SQL command, and you can see there that it's gone. And then when you log out, which was just a Java session element, then it goes back to the login page. So all in all, we split it up pretty evenly with using GitHub, and since each of us had like our own specifications when making the website, each of us could split it up equally. So I handled the back end, and then Jatin and Ishwar did the front.
So we wanted to take our volunteering app to the next level, and we wanted to kind of merge the business world and the volunteering world together. Because I know there's many public events where people pick up from the parks, and there's like doctors and all sorts of people with all sorts of professions. We wanted to leverage their professions and their specific skill sets to specific parts of volunteering. So that's why we added a degree option to our app, where participants could input their degrees and their qualifications, so that specific volunteering jobs with their own needs could ask for them specifically. We also had it online volunteering, where people could volunteer their services online. They could go to sign up for websites and creations of websites and other services.
Ultimately, this creates volunteering to be a much more fun and more interesting aspect, and that way individuals in our community can gain more experience in their respective fields through this option as well.
So thank you guys for listening, and if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. So I want to make sure the companies that need the volunteers, will they actually have the ability to go out and search for you, or are you searching for the companies that are offering the volunteer?
So we have two types of account, and that's offered at the homepage. You can sign up to be a user,
okay,
or sign up to be a company. And if you sign up to be a company, you'd list out your events and
Gotcha.
your mission statement. And if you sign up to be a user, you can search for events and sign up on our app.
And vice versa, can the company, let's say that there's a master list of, all of us in this classroom, if they have a volunteer event, can they search for names and requests?
Yes, they can search for names, but another thing that we have also let them do is they can request for a certain profession that they want, and that way we would give them a list of names that users have signed up with when they entered the degree.
Okay, good. Awesome. Good job, guys.
Hello, my name is Caleb Drain.
Kevin Chen.
Xavier Scott.
Kyle Manning.
And this is our product, Iron Aid.
Okay, so the problem that we saw was that at NCHS, there's some students who don't have what they need. For example, clothing, school supplies, or food. And then there's also students at NCHS who have these things in excess, but they're not sure how to help. So we wanted to make both donating and claiming items easier. So our solution is Iron Aid, a hub/item bank where students can donate or claim items. And then we also believe that this idea can be expanded to be used by any school, or even other places like churches who might need an app like this. So how it works is that, so this is our title screen, and then a student who wants to reserve something will put their school ID number and also their password.
Okay, I guess we're going to start to go through there.
Which brings you to a list of categories, and then from there, there's different items in each category. And then yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then there's categories, and then there's items within each category, and then there's a description for each item, and then a student can then reserve it. Yeah.
Okay. Can you move the cursor off the video? Can you go to the next slide? It's not working.
Okay, so to make this database, we use the language SQL, or structured query language. SQL allows us to manipulate and create data for our IRNA project, and it was very helpful for us as we used as all of our items had 5 columns. These 5 columns were items, ID, ID, categories, and if it is reserved or not, and then also who reserved it. So for the, let's say for example, our item is pencils. It will have an ID number. Every item has a completely different ID number. For instance, this item ID is 31. It will be in a category that would allow us to organize all of our supplies and stuff. And so for pencils, it would be school supplies. And then it has a reserve. This is a Boolean, which means it's either true or false. And if it's true, there is a reserve ID, and if it is, and if it is false, there is no reserve ID. And for instance, this is true, so the reserver was the person with the ID number of that. And so to help us create our product, we use Trello. Trello is really helpful for us being able to figure out where we are at in making this and assigning stuff. For instance, we use color-coordinated labels to be able to assign each person an item to do. And then we have a backlog, stuff that needs to be done, but we haven't started yet. We have a doing, which is stuff that's being done right now but is not finished, and a review. And this review is stuff that we think is finished, but we want to make sure all of our other group members can see it before we say it's done. And then we also have the done tab where we show all the stuff that we have done.
So this is SQL code. It's implemented through Android Studio, which is a Java program. And you can see the 5 different columns that are up there. The data types we use integers, strings, and booleans mainly. And I created the table is the main method right there, the onCreate. And you can use really use SQL to just keep track of all the data, because obviously there's thousands of students here, there's hundreds of items that are going to be rolling through, so it's just an easy way to keep track of it. And it's like I said, it's embedded in Java. Here's some of the Java code. You basically just use this in coordination with SQL to edit the data, to like view the table, to edit the table, and it powers the SQL.
Any questions?
What was your biggest challenge in putting this together?
Well, we have never really studied SQL, so for me, when I was coding that, I was learning it as I was going, so that was kind of a challenge.
I'd say for me, a big challenge was just trying to make sure like everything was coordinated and making sure everyone was able to be coordinated with one another, which Trello helped a lot in the Agile program.
Good job, guys. Very good.
Okay. Communication is vital in today's world. Me, Munith Nara,
me, Frikar Napragada,
I, Leo,
have created Smart Talk in order to solve the issue of a lack of communication in today's society. So the problem is, in a lot of schools, announcements don't reach every student, and this just doesn't occur in schools. It also occurs in workplaces and any other form of social gatherings. So some teachers' communicating methods are also not effective in the case of our school, for example, and other schools, which we've heard from many students. And in order to push announcements, they have to go through other apps and use services like cellular data and methods that aren't cost effective to send their messages. So many students can miss out on important dates and events because of this lack of communication. Our solution is our app Smart Talk. So Smart Talk uses a proximity sensor, which is called an SMO, that will detect your location when you walk near it, and it'll send corresponding announcements that'll be pushed through your device through our app, and then it'll make communication simple and seamless.
So about the S-Mount, this is the S-Mount. Basically, these things will be
hanging around like entrances to classrooms or entrances to like the school or around the cafeteria, and they'll always be on, and they connect to our phones via Bluetooth, and so it will constantly be sending these signals that an administrator provides to the app, and when the user or someone with the phone that has the app on their phone, when they walk up, they'll receive the sensor, or when they are in reach of the proximity. And for example, if they were at the cafeteria and like they didn't know what was for lunch today, when they got close to the cafeteria, it'll send them the menu, what's there to eat, and also if it was in place towards the entrance when you're leaving the school, it can tell you like the after-school activities and what's there after school. If you're leaving a classroom, it can tell you what homework you have or what you need to do or what you need to have prepared when you come to class the next day.
So to develop our code, we used Android Studio, and this way we can test our code immediately using our tablets in class. On Estimote's website, we found a developer documentation that goes through step-by-step of the code we need to implement using their SDK. So we use this documentation as a template to mirror what they have to our code. And along the way, we encountered many errors, but started fixing them with help. And we worked to a point where we now have no syntax or runtime errors, but we figured we have logical errors because there's something preventing the proximity sensor from behaving properly.
So we organized through Trello, and basically we had a backlog of all the things that we needed to do, and we transferred those to the to-do list, and we would choose which tasks we wanted to work on individually, and then after we're done, we put it on the to be reviewed so that all of us can look at what the person has done, and also our mentor can look at it and see what we have done. And after that, it'll be all there in our done tab, where we can go back and reference it again and see what we have all accomplished.
So even though we haven't achieved the final version of our code, we do have a vision of what the finished product might look like. So we create a prototype. So when the user launches the app, they'll be taken straight to the home screen, and this is where the announcements are listed vertically. We implemented a 2-button navigation system, and this is the classroom section of our app where the teacher can communicate with their students about assignments and which class it is from. And the navigation is very simple, just 2 buttons, and the user can communicate effectively without any hassles or without missing out on any important things.
And also to look at it in the future, hopefully we can use this app to modernize school, to make it more entertaining. People who aren't as active in their school, when they leave the school and they receive an activity, maybe they'll see it and like spark some interest into them. And this is a way for schools to work as a community. Thank you.
Any questions?
You mentioned right now, is it not syncing up with, is that what the issue is right now?
Yeah, we figure we have logical errors because there's nothing in our code. I mean, everything in our code is all perfect, but when it runs, the proximity sensor, when a Bluetooth device goes near the proximity sensor, it's not triggering what it needs to trigger to deliver the notification.
Yeah, part of the problem with that was the developer document is kind of a little outdated because we're running on the newest version of Android Studio, so that's why it's, if we could contact Estimo and maybe find out a solution to this problem, then it'd be very helpful.
Good job.
Good afternoon. My name is Divya Bukya.
My name is Rosie Socrates.
And I'm John Faulkner.
And today we're here to present to you a product that we've been working on for a couple of months now.
So Unisource. What is Unisource? Well, it's a product that enables the user to make personal information changes on one platform. This essentially makes the user's life more efficient and easy. But before we take a look at the functionality of the product, let's take a look at a message from our sponsors.
Hey, Scott Hughes. You're relocating this week. Happy days. What's your accurate? In 1 week? Yes, ma'am. That's not possible. It is.
Hello, I'm John Paul. From State Farm. You called me. Well, it happens in real life too. So you got all these files here, and I heard you're relocating too.
Wait, how did you find out?
Word gets around.
Well, you're right, I am relocating and I need to find my utility bills and to pay this.
Well, I have just the app for you. Unisource. This will solve all your problems. We can keep all your files and data in one place.
I can move tomorrow. How's it going? Great, actually, thanks to John from State Farm. I don't have a lot of and I can make quick and easy changes.
Unisource, helping personal changes go right.
So essentially, what was our problem? Well, people are unable to identify where their information is being stored or sent, how many different platforms it's on, and think about it. If you had to change your address or phone number, how many different platforms would you have to change it in? So we devised a plan to make information changes on one single platform.
Since data is stored in many different locations, such as on your phone, on your accounts online, and even in files, maybe under the bed, there are lots of inconsistencies that arise for this.
So this is our solution, Unisource. Okay, so looking at the prototype here, this is just the creating an account page. Obviously this is very dumbed down. There could be even more ways to set up the top of this, but there's just email, first name, last name, number, and password, then it sends you an email confirmation. And then the next time that you open the app after that email confirmation, you'll go ahead and sign in, have your username and password, and because Unisource supports two-step verification, we'll have a 4-digit number that'll be texted to you when you go to log in. You just type that in there. Then this is the page they're brought to after you log in. So currently this person has 78 entities that currently hold their information. And so taking all 78 of those, 10% of that is business, 20% of that is unknown, and 20% social media, and 50% government. So the unknown could be like spam email. It's a possibility because they're holding your email address. All right, so when you tap on the hamburger stack, that was shown on the previous slide, you can actually go into business, unknown, social media, or government. under unknown, if there's anything there that just seems fishy, you don't want it there anymore, get rid of it. You can pull your information away from them, so they don't have to hold your information anymore. And then the other tab is update info, which is shown right here. So these are already your set information, and so let's say you need to change your information. Some sort of like, let's say you got hacked, like your email got hacked, and you needed to create a new email, and you needed to change that email across all platforms, including social media. Say you're like Amazon or whatnot. You can change it right there, press update my info, it'll update across all those platforms. Okay, so this is our code. This is super dumbed down. This isn't even an Android Studio, which is what we would prefer this to be in, but this is in BlueJ. And basically, this is just Proto.io showing the front end. This is a little bit more of the back end, where all the information that's being added or stored is like their phone number, their email address. It's just stored into the database, which could be MySQL, that could be stored there.
And thank you for your time. Feel free to ask any questions.
Curious what, how you came up with this idea. I mean, obviously it's a problem, right? Did you survey the user group? Is this just something, I'm curious how you came up with this.
Well, the main idea, I think, mainly sprouted from John, our mentor, but we had added on top of that with like, the first initial idea was that like there's a whole bunch of entities that hold our information, you know, so sorry, I'm gonna wait for that announcement, sorry, okay. So yeah, there's a bunch of entities that hold our information and we don't have any control over it. So this basically helps us take back that control.
Good job, guys.